for creating services. What we're going to do is we're going to create the requisition very similar to earlier. So I'm going to click on Create Requisition. And you'll see here we have a question of, do we want to create a requisition or do we want to upload requisitions? So as you become more savvy in the system, you can export your requisitions into Excel and you can re-upload them through this tool. If you wanted to use, let's say, a template or something like that. So for this particular example, we're going to click on requisition, but I just want to let you know that you can upload Excel versions that are offline. So if I click on requisition, we're back here at the catalog homepage. And like I said before, there's two ways to get to the non-catalog. There's this button and there's this button. I'm just going to click on Add Non-Catalog Item button, and that's bringing us to the freeform text area. You'll see that there's a full description here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write in service line 1, and you'll next see is the commodity code. So when we're going through the catalogs have already defaulted in the commodity code. But with a non-catalog, we need to select the commodity code. So you'll see when I click this drop down, it'll give me the last 5 that we've used, and I can click search more. And this brings us to the commodity code selector. And notice that we have a name and we also have an ID. So if you did happen to know the ID of the commodity code you want to use, you can switch this to ID and search directly on the number, or you can go to the name and search here. Before I directly search on what I want to highlight what Annie was describing earlier in the training, which is the structure of the commodity code data. So if I click this little caret icon, this is going to expand, and you'll notice that under construction services, we have general contractors and special trade contractors. These two roll up to the construction services. And by the data format, the ID, you'll be able to see that roll-up structure. So you'll notice at the top level, we're just concerned with the top, the first 2 digits. And then as we go down into the tiers, you'll see that the next 2 digits kind of build upon itself. So in this case, our general is the construction services, and then general contract is 1610-0000, and then if there was sub-commodities under general contractors, that would fill out the next 2 digits and the next 2 digits in the ID format. As Annie mentioned before, it's best practice and encouraged to select the lowest commodity within the structure. So that'll give you the most finest detail. So if I scroll down here, I want to pick office supplies. Actually, let's do an actual service. So I'm going to scroll down here and we'll see professional services. And I can go into consulting, and we have IT consulting. So at this point, I can select it from here, or I could type in consulting at the top and go from there. So for IT, I'm just going to hit select here. And you'll notice that our account type is showing up where we have the capital, expense, or construction. So IT is a commodity. IT consulting is a commodity where various account types are available. So that could be applied to an expense. It can also be applied to capital. So in this case, we'll leave it as capital for this demonstration. And then we have our quantity. So with services, since like I mentioned before, services are received by amount. So the quantity in this case is not relevant. For a service, you can just keep this as quantity 1. Unit of measure is each, and if you did have a situation where you had a different unit of measure, for example, hours, you can change that. The price is going to be the price of the total service. So in this case, I'm going to put 1,000, just for an example. I click update amount, and then now it wants the supplier. So in this particular case, I would know the supplier that we're creating a requisition for, and I'm going to select the Ariba P2P test supplier in this case. You'll also notice that there's a supplier part number and the supplier part auxiliary ID. So just to kind of bring this back to what Annie was saying, the non-catalog can be used for services and also material. So if there's materials that are not in the catalog, this is the free text form that would be available. And if there's a part number or auxiliary ID part number available, you can include that here. So at this point, I would just add it to the cart, and then it's going to consolidate all that information into the line item like we saw before. And you'll notice that our PR number has been generated here as expected. So at this point, I can click on Proceed to Checkout, and I'll see my line item down here. And just like before, I want to give it a title, so I'm just going to call it Service for February. Our purchasing unit, again, that's the property. On behalf of, ship to, deliver to, need by date. Some of these fields may not be applicable, so if, for example, need by date, you can just leave that blank if need be. Comments, and then especially with services, this is where you would want to add an attachment, which would be that quote or that proposal. And when this goes to the purchasing manager can work with the quote and the supplier before they approve it. So if I scroll down here, you'll see that we've got $1,000 service, and I click on Show Approval Flow. And again, we need to select that GL account just like last time. So I'm going to click on Actions, Edit Details, and it's a capital, so I'm going to search more, and you'll see that the capital GL accounts are here. I'm just going to choose the first one, Leasehold Improvements, and then you'll notice that the project is filled in, but we want to make sure that we select the project that's relevant for this particular project. So in this case, I'm just going to select the first one, which is Derby City Gaming Expansion. And this is going to show you the projects that are valid for that account string. And then once I come up here to the top, I click OK, and I scroll down. Now we see the approval flow that we're familiar with. And just once again, to demonstrate this, I'm going to make this a large dollar amount, update total, and that's going to require other approvers. So for example, the VP of sourcing will need to get involved when it's a higher dollar amount, as well as the CFO and the president and COO. I'm just going to click up that taxes here, and then I'm going to send it back to you, Annie.
Perfect.